Marcy Seville, and I'm the director of the on-campus Women's Employment Rights Clinic. So thanks to everybody for coming. This is the after holiday weekend. It's a little hard to stay late after class. We're really pleased to have with us today 4 labor and employment practitioners from a variety of sectors. We have in-house government, private practice, small firm plaintiff side, and private practice, large firm employer side. So you'll get a good cross-section of the types of opportunities that are out there. Since we have a small group, we're going to go ahead and if you have questions as the speakers are presenting, feel free to ask them or comments so we can have a little back and forth, which always livens things up. So I'm going to do the introductions from the far end, and the speakers will present in that order. So first I'd like to introduce Galen Sorrells. He is currently corporate counsel at the Clorox company, so he's in-house counsel, where his practice areas are varied but include labor and employment law, and he can fill us in on whatever else he's doing. He was born and raised in San Francisco, got his bachelor's degree at Columbia University, and then went to Santa Clara University School of Law in South Bay. Before, he's had a wide range of experience. Before Clorox, he worked at everyone's favorite gym, 24 Hour Fitness, and at the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. And he also has a really impressive range of pro bono and professional involvement. He's a board member of the California Association of Black Lawyers. He's a member of the Charles Houston Bar Association, the Association of Corporate Counsel. He's authored the Century Corporate Counsel Employment and Labor Newsletter, and he teaches as an adjunct professor at John F. Kennedy, both the law school and the business school.
In the School of Management for paralegals and at the law school.
Great. And if that's not enough, he has pro bono work. That includes working at an employment and labor law clinic at a nonprofit, working with the Family Violence Law Center in Oakland, and an organization called Junior Achievement. So welcome.
Thank you.
I'm going to introduce next Devon King, who's one of our own graduates and was a participant in the Women's Employment Rights Clinic, where she did great work. And Devon works in government, and we'll be talking to you about that experience. She works at the San Francisco Regional Office of the U.S. Department of Labor, the Federal Department of Labor, and she works in something called the Employee Benefits Security Administration. She's going to use a lot of letters, a lot of acronyms, so that's the EBSA. She was a benefits advisor and has begun working as an investigator there. She has her bachelor's from Occidental College and her JD from Golden Gate University, which she's been a member of the bar since 2007, so I think she's our newest lawyer here. She's worked in the past in private practice on employment discrimination issues. She volunteers at the Employment Law Center in San Francisco, the Workers' Rights Clinic.
Well, not recently.
No, she has in the past. And one of the things she does regularly is gives public presentations as part of her job on, and I'm just going to say the acronyms, I'm going to let her explain what they are. Some of you may know them. So she does it on ERISA, COBRA, HIPAA. Anybody know what any of those are? HIPAA. Okay, so she'll explain. And fiduciary duties and other related topics. So you've got some acronyms to justify here. And then next is Monique Alder, next to Devon. And as I mentioned, Monique is in private practice, now in a smaller firm where she represents plaintiffs in both individual and class actions. So she's a partner at Duckworth, Peters, Leibowitz, and Oliver LLP, which is a San Francisco firm specializing in workplace harassment, employment discrimination, and consumer fraud, in addition to employment law. As I mentioned, she represents both individuals and classes of employees in employment, consumer protection, immigration, and civil rights at both the trial and appellate level. Before she joined this firm, where she's the partner, she was managing attorney at the Sturdivant Law Firm in San Francisco. She went to UC Davis King Hall School of Law. She's also certified as an appellate specialist by the California Bar. Among her wonderful experiences. The notable cases are settlement of a national class action of over 40,000 individuals had their tax refunds seized to pay third-party debts. And she also got comprehensive relief for women students seeking equal educational opportunities. I assume that was Title IX. Did you work with ERA? Okay, that which you worked co-counseling with a nonprofit equal rights advocates. She's successfully tried and settled numerous cases involving gender discrimination, wage disputes, disability access, predatory lending, fraud, and misrepresentation against private and public entities. Among her, again, many activities, she's been on the board of directors of the San Francisco Trial Lawyers Association, and she co-chairs its diversity committee. She volunteers as a consulting attorney also, where Devon did in the past, at the Employment Law Center Workers' Rights Clinic. She's a former member of the board of directors of the Tibet Justice Center, which I would love to hear. And she's currently, are you still currently president of the Performing Arts Workshop? She's president of the board of directors of the Performing Arts Workshop, which is a nonprofit organization that provides education through the arts to youth in the Bay Area. So we have a Renaissance woman. And our last speaker is, I'll get to you in a minute. Is Michael Pederney, did I get it right?
Yes.
Excellent. Who is a partner at Littler Mendelsohn, which is a very large labor and employment law firm with over 800 lawyers and 52 offices around the country. So he'll answer your large firm questions. He specializes in representation of management, which is the employer side, in all aspects of labor and employment law, including collective bargaining, the National Labor Relations Board, harassment and discrimination, wrongful termination, and wage and hour issues. He's represented employers in contract negotiations in both jury trials and bench trials, which are trials in front of a judge, administrative hearings, appellate cases, and arbitration. He got his bachelor's from University of Notre Dame. He has his JD from University of Washington School of Law. In law school, he was the Associate's Notes and Comment Editor for the Washington Law Review, and he also worked as a student intern in the Associate Regional Solicitor's Office for the Department of Labor, as well as in a private employment firm. So we have a great group of speakers to fill you in on things about the actual practice of employment law, and I think we'll start with that.
Feel free to ask any questions, but I can just, tell you a little bit about kind of my path, and then, you guys jump in wherever you see fit. When I graduated from law school, I did go work at a law firm for a few years. I'd actually interned at this firm up in Sacramento while I was in law school, and then they offered me a job upon graduation, and I was in their business department, and I was just basically a corporate generalist. And when you're first starting out, you just catch as catch can, and so whatever work was available, that's what I would do. So it ranged from banking-related work, and then a big piece of it, though, I got very close to one of the employment law partners there, and so I did a lot of work with her during my tenure. I was there for a couple of years, and then an opportunity came for me to go in-house, and so that's when I left the firm and joined the Federal Reserve of San Francisco. And there, a big piece of the work too was employment. There was also, I did commercial contracts, some sales and negotiation. A lot of people, when you think of the Federal Reserve, you think of it as this big regulator, which it is, but it's also just like any other business, and it has all the same issues that any other business would have. And so it sells products and services, it regulates the banks, and of course it has employees, and issues would come up there. And so I did that for a while, and then I left. An opportunity came for me to go. I was there for about 3-4 years, and then opportunity came for me to go and join 24-Hour Fitness. And when I usually say that, people say, "Oh, were you a trainer?" And I said, No. I trained there, but I was not a trainer. They are, 24-Hour Fitness is a very, very big, large business, just like any other out there. There's over 450 clubs nationwide, and they too have tons and tons of employees, as you well may imagine. And a big piece of my work there was employment and labor related work. As you can imagine any club, gym that's open 24 hours a day that has young people working there. You can imagine some of the things that might come up with the members as well as the employees. And so some of that did generate some lawsuits, and actually a fair amount. And so we were pretty busy. We had a very big litigation budget when I was there. And I got to travel to fun places like Idaho to sit through arbitrations, and back east to Midwest out in Michigan, and because we were just spread so far, and so that's where some of the issues were. And we would just try to negotiate and resolve things in an amicable fashion. When you work in-house and you're dealing with, our goal is, my client is the corporation, and so I'm always looking to do what's in the best interest of the corporation. Certainly you refer to your clients as your business partners or the other departments that you help, and in this case would be HR. But if there was a situation were to arise where HR wanted to go down a path that was not in the best interest of the corporation, I would have a fiduciary obligation and an ethical obligation to raise that and potentially even trump that type of decision, because my client is the corporation, and so we always have to make sure that we're real clear about that. When you're in-house, you're trying to defend the corporation and do as best you can. So we would engage outside firms like Littler Mendelson who do management defense and would help us litigate cases. When you're in-house, usually we do a tremendous amount of advice and counsel related work. We do a lot of training on employment related issues. We try to make sure that our HR folks are up to speed on just kind of the latest and greatest issues, and also are just in compliance with law. But when litigation does arise, usually in-house, you're not set up to manage the litigation, and so you do have to engage an outside firm to help you, and then your job just becomes keep the bills under control and just manage your outside counsel, because every now and again, I'm not saying this is what everyone is, but every now and again, counsel, they want to make you look good, and they're coming up with creative solutions and ideas, but you want to, at the end of the day, a win for you is when you can go to management and say, hey, we resolved this and it only cost X, and which was, let's say, 1/4 of what the plaintiff was demanding, or something like that. Really, really, really low, and that's a good result for the business. And so, fair amount of that activity when I was at 24 Hour Fitness. I was there for 4 years, and then I left and went to the Clorox company. I've been there for almost 5 years. And so again, when I first came to Clorox, it was a lot of sales and marketing and advertising related work, because it's a big consumer products goods company. So you guys think of it as bleach, but it's a whole bunch more than just bleach. There's your Glad trash bags, there's Brita water filtration systems, there's Greenworks, there's Casey Masterpiece barbecue sauce, there's Hidden Valley Ranch salad dressing. All that runs through Clorox, and those are all Clorox brands. And so when I first came on board, it was marketing, advertising, and sales. I still do some of that, but then as with any business, we had a reorganization, and the senior leaders, they knew that I had an employment law background, and so they asked me to jump in and start doing that type of work again. So I've been doing that for a little over a year, and that's pretty much the bulk of what I do now there again. So it's one of those things where I've tried to not so much escape it, I've just always had a hand in it, and then just over time there'll just be periods where I have to dip into it more, and so that's kind of where we are right now. And so I'll stop right there for just 1 second to see if there's any questions.
Yes, for him?
Don't be shy. Sure.
Now that you're working at Clorox, and you said you do primarily employment and labor issues, do you still get kind of peripherally involved in other practice areas? And what would be some examples of those?
When you are in-house, that's a very good question. When you are in-house, you do, unlike when you're at a firm, when you're at a firm, you have an opportunity to really drill down and focus in and just be like a specialist or an expert. And you can do that at in-house. Usually there might be one area that's like just really your thing, where someone will come to you and say, oh, we have this issue, go see Galen. That's